Hi and welcome to niftyDuck. Tom here. In this episode I'll show you other programming notions for your game development journey. What are we going to see today? In the last video we saw the basics of programming, so libraries, voids, variables, classes and print. This time the first things are the comments, then public and private, operators, and finally the basic conditions. Let's start right now by opening our test script, which is connected to the empty game object, like the last video. I'll delete only this comment, because later we are working with these variables. But the first thing that I want to show you are the comments, which are not coding comments or something similar, but I think that are important. Are you seeing these gray writings? These are comments that are not useful for the machine but for the humans. In fact, you can use them if you want to specify what a certain code block contains, or everything you want, to make your work easier. For example, as default, when you create a new script there are these writings. Start is called before the first frame update. So, that's the description of the void start. Or here, update is called once per frame. Did you understand? Comments must be created with 2 bars before the thing you want to write. So, the compiler can recognize and ignore this part of code. If you write a comment without the bars, Visual Studio will warn you with an error. If you want to comment more than one line of code, you can write a bar with an asterisk and vice versa at the end. So now I can write comments inside this part. But now let's talk about public and private. When I started learning Unity, my biggest doubt was, how does the Unity application interact with code? Or better, how can the code know what game object I want to interact with? The answer is of course with public and private. When you watch, for example, int my int equals to 10, you can imagine that here, before the declaring part, there is the word private. And that's because this variable is like protected by the script, so other scripts or Unity can't access directly to my int. But if I write before this the word public and save, let's see what happens into Unity. If you select the object and you watch the test scripts component in the inspector, you'll notice that my int can now be changed in Unity. If you want to view better the change, you can write print my int in the void update, return in Unity and try to change it. In the console, you can see that my int is printed every single frame of the game and changed by us. You can make public all variables that you want, so let's try. Here are all the variables that has been declared public, and we can change all these ones. But if you make them private another time, the value will return as you wrote inside the script. Public is useful if you want to change something directly in Unity and during the game running too. But it's not useful just for that. We can also connect other game objects to the script using a public variable. But don't worry, we are seeing that in other videos. Other important things in programming are operators. Variables can be used to make math calculations. In fact, you can make sum, difference, division, multiplication and module. Let's see all of them. Return on Visual Studio and delete all of these to make our code less confusing. Create 3 new variables. Int number 1 equals to 10. Int number 2 equals to 5. Int result. And in the void start I write print result. Now I have to write the operation that I want to make inside the result variable. So for the sum I must write here result equals to number 1 plus number 2. So the result variable will take the value of the sum between number 1 and number 2. If we watch the console, we'll see that the result is 15, the sum between 10 and 5. If I want to make the difference, I must write a minus here, then an asterisk for the multiplication and the slash for the division. These are the principal operators, but there is a particular one which is the module, written with the percentage symbol, that gives you the rest of the division between two numbers. For example, if I want to know the rest of the division between 10 and 5, I have to write result number 1 module number 2, and by watching the console we'll notice that the result is 0, because the rest of the division between 10 and 5 is 0. If we change a value and set number 1 to 16, we'll see in the console that the rest is 1, because 16 divided for 5 is 3 with the rest of 1. Machines are very strict with types, so you must pay attention when you make operations. If you make an operation between two equal types, the result will be only of that type. So, for example, if you make an int 7 divided by another int 2, and you make the result variable as an int, it won't give you 3.5, but just 3. Because the integer types don't care about the decimal part. And the same happens if the result variable is a float, because the two variables are integers, so you should control that at least one of the two operating variables is a float to take the right result. We are now in the final part of this video, and we are talking about the conditions. These are the most fundamental things for programming, because they can recognize and operate in different ways. The first thing that I want to show you is the if-else statement. The if statement syntax is this. You must write if and then inside the parentheses a condition. A condition can be an equality, an inequality, an expression, or whatever you want, such as if my int equals to 10. Then execute this code block. In C#, when you are making a condition, you must insert two equal signs. If I declare another time public int my int, and I give it the 10 value, another example could be if my int is different than 10, or if my int is greater than 25. But you can also make expressions like if my int module 10 plus 2 equals to my int divided 2. In summary, you can make whatever condition you want. You can also make it with bool variables, such as if player is dead equals to true. Then you can add else at the end of the statement, or else if, with the condition. That is an excellent alternative instead of making a lot of if statements inside your code. But the if isn't very efficient when you want to control a lot of values. And here comes the switch. The switch is just like the if, but is useful for long statements. If you write switch variable, you can write inside the brackets the value that you want to control by using case. For example, switch my int, and inside the brackets, case 25 with the instruction, case 4 with the instruction. After the word case, you must write the value that you want to control. Then you have to write the instructions that you want, and the word break. This one means that the code must jump at the end of the switch statement. If you don't write it, the compiler will execute the next case too. So if you don't want any problems, I recommend you to always write it. At the end of the switch, you can write default. It is just like the else. So if we compare the if and the switch with the same operations, here is the code. So In summary, the switch is just like the if statement, but for more conditions. As a demonstration, I can write in the void update, if my int equals to 10, then print yes, else print no, and then watch the console. As you can see, if we change it, the console will print no. Maybe you can think, okay, that's useful, but I want to start making games now. I just wanted to know first the things which I wanted to know before learning game development. So don't worry, in every episode we are becoming nearer at the knowledge for making games. So guys, that's all for this video. See you in the next one. Bye from niftyDuck.